Hello and welcome to the webinar under International Society for Behavioral Nutrition and Physical Activity, Socio-Economic Inequalities, Special Interest Group. A very good evening to all our viewers. We came with a very interesting study for today's session, and it is exploring the impact of Mother's Kitchen Recipe Talk on maternal anemia and malnourished children among tribes of Andhra Pradesh, India, a prospective cohort study. Myself, Dr. Pentapati Santosh Kumar, Senior Resident in the Department of Community and Family Medicine at All India Institute of Medical Sciences, Mangalgiri, Andhra Pradesh, has been given the opportunity to moderate this session. I welcome you all on behalf of the entire team of ISBNPA. Our distinguished speakers for today are Professor Rakesh Kakkar, Professor and Head, Department of Community and Family Medicine, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, Bathinda, Punjab. Professor Rajeev Aravindakshan, Professor and Head, Department of Community and Family Medicine, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, Mangalgiri, Andhra Pradesh. Dr. Arti Gupta, Assistant Dean Research, Associate Professor, Department of Community and Family Medicine, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, Mangalgiri, Andhra Pradesh. Before beginning, I wish to announce the sequence we will follow for today's session. Today's session will be speaker's presentation with PPT for half an hour to 40 minutes. First, Professor Kakkar will talk about situation of anemia in North India, and then Professor Aravindakshan will talk about the situation of anemia in South India, followed by Dr. Gupta about the study. Audience are requested to type their questions in the chat box or Q&A, and all these questions will be taken at the end of all the three talks. First speaker for today's session is Professor Kakkar. Professor Kakkar is currently working as Professor and Head in the Department of Community and Family Medicine at AIIMS, Bathinda. He has received multiple honors and achievements, namely Residential Appreciation Award under Faculty category in IAPSM Con 2018, IAPSM Fellowship in IAPSM Con 2021, IPHA Fellowship at IPHA Con 2023. He is an editor for IAPSM Textbook of Community Medicine. He had served as an editor for Indian Journal of Community Health. He is editorial board member in multiple reputed national and international journals. He had served as chairman, State Task Force for RNTCP, Uttarakhand. He also served as professor and head in the Department of Community and Family Medicine and medical superintendent at AIIMS Mangalgiri. He had presented in multiple national and international conferences. He had worked in various research projects and authored multiple publications in reputed national and international journals. Over to you, Professor Kakkar.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Siva. Thanks for this invitation and nice introduction. So I'll start with my session that is on status of anemia in northern India. So I'll discuss about the anemia situation in North India, which covers Punjab, Haryana, Jammu Kashmir, Chandigarh, and Himachal Pradesh. So Chandigarh is a union territory, other 5 are the states. So as per the National Family Health Survey, 5th, here is the situation of all special groups, like under 5 children. If you'll see, so it is more in under 5 children if we'll compare it with the other special groups like pregnant women, women of reproductive age, or men between 15 to 49 years of age. So we can see the prevalence is quite high in under 5 children, and which is almost similar in Punjab, Haryana, and Jammu Kashmir, around 70 to 72%. And while it is lesser in Himachal and Chandigarh, and the prevalence is high in Punjab, Haryana, and Jammu Kashmir over the average of India. And then it is second highest in the women of reproductive age group, which is highest in Jammu Kashmir, and which followed by Haryana and Chandigarh, and then Punjab. Then it is in pregnant women in across other states. So it is quite less in among men as compared to the other age groups, while amongst men it is highest in Jammu Kashmir. So if we look the state-wise distribution of this special groups, so again we can see that it is high among the under 5 children. And if we'll see, compare it with the different National Family Health Survey from 98 to 2021. So earlier the trend was decreasing, but due to various reasons, this trend amongst under 5 children is has risen in the last survey, and which can be seen in pregnant women and women of reproductive age group in Punjab, while in men the situation is still satisfactory. It has shown a decline. In Haryana state, this is almost stable in under 5 children, but the prevalence is high if we'll compare it with the Punjab, which is 71%, and here also it is 70.4%, but it has shown a slight decline, while in pregnant women also it is almost same. Women of reproductive age, again it is slightly low, and the same is in the men of 15 to 49 years of age. In Jammu Kashmir, again in under 5 children it is rose to 72.7%. In pregnancy it has declined. In women of reproductive age it is again increased. In men also it is increased. So we will discuss about among other socioeconomic factors which are affecting this. And I think COVID also has played a big role due to unemployment and due to low access to healthcare. In last survey, it has increased. So in Himachal Pradesh, it is around in NFHS 5, it is 55.4. In pregnant women, 42.2. In women of reproductive age, it is 53. So it is almost same as that of NFHS 4 findings. And in men of 15 to 49 years, it is 18.6%. So the overall prevalence is different in different regions across various special groups. In Chandigarh, the results are quite encouraging, and this has shown decline in under 5 children from NFHS 4 to NFHS 5. And it has shown a significant decline from 73.1 to 54.6. And in women of reproductive age, also a good decline of 75.9 to 60.3. And in males, it is 19.3 to 8.1. So it is one of the good performing area. Now, government has taken various initiatives because in recent surveys, it has been shown that malnutrition is also a prevalent problem here. So food fortification with a fortified rice and fortified wheat flour is implemented in many of the districts across India. And Haryana in Haryana and Himachal Pradesh, double fortified salt with iodine and iron is in pipeline in Haryana, and fortified wheat flour is being implemented in 6 districts. So many other initiatives are also taken, which I'll discuss, like rice fortification is in place in nearly all the districts of Punjab, and as per the survey, this has shown a good improvement in anemia situation. So hopefully by the next NFHS survey, the results will be showing a good picture of good improvement in anemia cases. Now coming to Haryana. Haryana has implemented several newer initiatives, and they are keeping a track record of all the children's in schools, and they are organizing various anemia elimination week campaigns in quarterly manner, like in May, August, November, and February. And dedicated anemia clinics at health facilities are in place. And this T3 camps like test, treat, and talk. That is, we have to test for anemia by the digital hemoglobinometer. Then we have to give appropriate treatment, and then talk, that is creating a more awareness at school level, at community level. Then anemia tracking, web real time, the time data upload. So they are tracking all the children's, all the special age group people, so as to keep a control on the situation. Then iron folic acid compliance monitoring of anemic cases through telecalling. So various initiatives under the Atal Abhiyan, that is assuring total anemia limit, is launched in March 2019. Now it will show encouraging result. Initially in its implementation, it takes some time, and 360-degree approach is applied. That is, they are covering every media, all the resources like radio spot, TV, cable channels, newspapers, various SMS or WhatsApp groups, e-sources, village health sanitation committee meetings, household visits. So all the modes are being used for creating awareness, so that people come forward to utilize these campaigns, these initiatives by the government. Some other newer initiatives like from the Health and Family Welfare Department, they are testing hemoglobin level using digital hemoglobinometer, and which is done by the RBSK team, that is Rashtriya Bal Suraksha Karyakram team, and various IC activities, treatment, follow-up sessions are being held. Monitoring and record keeping will be done by the Health and Family Welfare. Then Department of Elementary Education is line listing of pre-primary and primary school children. Department of Women and Child Development is line listing out of school children, Anganwadi enrolled children. So comprehensive testing of pre-primary and primary children will be done by the RBSK team, which is very essential, I think. If we'll register all the children at one go and we'll leave, then it will not be good. So continuous monitoring is required. So pre-primary and primary children will be done by the RBSK team. Exclusive IC through posters on anemia, radio jingles, newspaper advertisement will be done. And test, treat, talk, T3 camps will be organized at district and block level to create awareness, early detection of anemia through district health surveys. So thank you from my side. Over to Dr. Siva.
Thank you, Professor Kakkar. Can you please stop share? Coming to the second speaker for today's session, Professor Aravindakshan. Professor Aravindakshan is currently working as Professor and Head in the Department of Community and Family Medicine at AIIMS Mangalgiri. He has more than 25 years of experience in teaching. He had served at Kasturba Medical College, Mangalore, Pushpagiri Institute of Medical Sciences, Tiruvalla, Kerala, before joining AIIMS Mangalgiri. He is an editorial board member for Journal of Research in Medical Education and Ethics and Pushpagiri Medical Journal. He is faculty in charge of IT cell at AIIMS Mangalgiri. He had organized and acted as resource person in various national and international workshops and conferences. He had worked in various research projects and have more than 50 publications in reputed national and international journals. Over to you, Professor Aravindakshan.
Good day to all the participants. Let me share my screen. Hope I'm clear to the audience.
Yes, sir, your screen is visible.
So let me zoom out a little bit and then from North India to probably all over India, and then zoom back into the southern part of India. The classification of north, south, east, west, it's because the way the map is arranged, and probably a bit of cultural differences between the regions, and hence the impact on the conditions such as anemia. So taking overall again, looking at India overall, zooming out overall, you can see the sample size and the prevalence of anemia in children 6 to 59 months, who are actually a focus of the talk today, plus women of reproductive age group 15 to 49 years. So you look at the sample size of the National Family Health Survey 2021, you can see, it runs into hundreds of thousands, and more so in women, and dependable statistics which comes out of it. Okay, mind you, it is based on hemoglobinometers, point of care devices, which is currently under a bit of dispute, and probably NFHS, the next round probably might not see such kind of statistics coming out of the laborious all country scene. And you can see quite a lot of people are mildly anemic, and quite a lot of them are moderately anemic as well. And then there is sufficient percentage, when you take the country as a large region and 140 crores of population, or 1.4 billion population, you see that the 2% and 2.6% severe anemia matters a lot, both in terms of women and the children across the country. So zooming onto the map of India, you can see, the regional distribution which you're talking about, because, India has got north, south, and west and east. And the northern part is sufficiently covered by Professor Kakkar in his talk previous to me. Okay, and then if you look at the southern part of India, you see that there are basically four and a half districts, states, which are, the individual units are called states. Actually, India is a union of the states. So you see that the one state in which anemia prevalence was high in NFHS 5 out of the 11 states which are mentioned, most of which are in other regions, and probably where I'm talking from, Andhra Pradesh, has a little bit of dubious distinction in terms of high prevalence of anemia in all the social groups, which you can see on the map, like general population, the other backward caste population, and scheduled caste and scheduled tribe population. So we got a bit of problem over here, and that's what Dr. Gupta will be talking about, in terms of intervention in the third part of this online seminar webinar. Okay, so taking on from Andhra Pradesh, so if you look closely, you see there are a couple of states which are actually doing very well in terms of the cutoffs which are prescribed. So out of that, the state of Kerala, which kind of, leads the health statistics of the whole country, had the lowest percentage of anemia prevalence, that too in the most backward of the society, that is scheduled caste and scheduled tribe women. So you can see the map, with a lightly colored area in the lower left side of it. That's a small state of Kerala. So you see that. And then, if you look into the affairs of the state, if you look close enough, if you can see that, there are actually clusters, small areas, even in the state of Kerala, where severe anemia is pretty highly prevalent. So the severe version of it, which is shown on the first column over here, and then the second column over here, you can see that Kerala moves down to, more or less widespread kind of moderate anemia. And of course, if you go down, you see that, Kerala has that mild anemia spread all across the country. The clusters are more common when you come to, so if you take an individual state also, you can see that there are pockets which are probably culturally or socially vulnerable to the situation that is anemia, that is less than 10 grams per deciliter of hemoglobin. And this is among the women 15 to 49 years. And if you move on, the same cluster kind of distribution can be seen in moderate anemia in the state of Kerala. Okay, so the regional distribution also matters. Again, that's the question which we'll be addressing in the third part of this webinar by Dr. Gupta. So you see moderate anemia will be on the higher side, in terms of cluster distribution of Kerala. But when you take a state like Andhra Pradesh, you see that, more or less, the statistics of anemia is widely prevalent across the whole state. If you take it together, there are less regional or cluster based or small group, this small area distribution when it comes to state of Andhra Pradesh. So more or less it will be uniformly distributed all across the region. And then like Professor Kakkar was amply telling, anemia mukt Bharat, and that's a Hindi word, mukt in between. So anemia free Bharat, Bharat being India. So this strategy was launched as early as in 2018, even before COVID attacked us, to reduce the prevalence of anemia across India. And then the overall umbrella of the program was actually Poshan Abhiyan, Poshan meaning nutrition Abhiyan. That is the program which was launched in March 2018. And the Poshan Abhiyan and the AIIMS strategy specifically wanted to reduce anemia by 3 percentage points, from statistics like 65% overall anemia. They wanted to reduce the anemia by 3 percentage points per year among adults, children, and adolescents from 2018 to 2022. And we know what happened after that. You can see the log of Anemia Mukt Bharat, which is kind of successfully running across India and some states in particular. And the interventions which have been told by Kakkar sir, the idea being anti-deficiency anemia control, and specifically with regard to South India, North and South actually have got a difference in terms of the staple food which people are consuming. North being predominantly wheat-based and the South being more rice-based, with exceptions like Punjab, where rice is actually seems to be, kind of used as equal to wheat as such. And then, of course, the fortification of salt also was mentioned in earlier speech of the double fortified salt, where iodine and iron take a place of salt so that it gets into the diet of people on a daily basis. So it's an effective way, and it's being tried out all across India again, and then success being varied between state to state. And of course, if you compare North and South, the Southern India, the cultural diversity makes it kind of amenable to iron-rich foods like leafy green vegetables, legumes, and fruits are probably more uniformly consumed across the southern part of India. And then if you talk about the medical side of it, we've been told that there are two varieties of hookworm being one of the major reasons for anemia in children, and of course even in adults. The more blood-hungry Ankylostoma duodenale seems to be more prevalent in the northern part of India, whereas the less virulent in terms of blood-sucking habit, Necator americanus, seems to be highest in the southern and of course in the eastern India also. So probably there is a pathological reason also why anemia is less prevalent in the southern part of India as compared to the northern parts of India. And also, I would like to show some statistics which comes out of the intervention point of view from some of the representative studies where you see that the younger people, the people who are in the urban areas, who are, socioeconomically deprived, and of course, people without education or primary education, and the people who are the poorest, and probably people who are on the underweight side of body mass index and all that, are actually also more prone to developing anemia in this particular study. But that's not the point, because of international curiosity. I'm looking at something which is very relevant to the reproductive age women. So here we see that the contraceptive pills and IUD are clubbed into one group, and then compared to the not using group of contraceptives, you see that there is a bit of protection. That is actually diluted by a combination of pill and IUD, which works in different methodologies and all that. And we have probably reason to see that, the pills, the oral contraceptive pills, which is marketed in India, is actually the variety known as iron-containing oral contraceptive pills, ICOC, which actually inserts iron tablets in between 2 cycles of artificially induced menstruation, which is actually in quantity and probably in terms of anemia-inducing nature, it actually protects women from developing overt anemia or the higher grades of anemia and all that. Probably, the analysis should split oral contraceptive pills from IUD, and then see that probably this iron-containing oral contraceptive pills will be going beyond what we are doing in terms of the Anemia Bharat initiatives, in which the dosage seems to be on the lower side of it, rather than a continuous daily usage as in a fortified diet or tablets and all that. So this is something probably which will be good enough, in terms of population control. And then the oral contraceptive pills probably might have to move away from the fertility regulation point of view to probably even control of anemia situation in reproductive age women. That cultural barrier against the use of the tablets from a point of view of anemia control seems to be one area which we have to work on, especially in a culturally sensitive, diverse country like India. So that kind of ends my talk, and over to Dr. Santosh.
Thank you, Professor Rajeev. Now I'll share the screen. Okay. So coming to the third and the last speaker for today's session, Dr. Gupta. Dr. Gupta is currently working as Assistant Dean Research, Associate Professor in the Department of Community and Family Medicine, AIIMS Mangalgiri. She is the in charge for Center for Rural Health AIIMS, Nothakki. She is the PI for UNICEF-funded RKSK-supported State Adolescent Health Center at AIIMS Mangalgiri. She has received 23 certificates of merit and 11 gold medals for academic success. She is involved in funded research projects of 2 crore INR. She has presented in multiple national and international conferences. She has authored around 50 publications in indexed journals. Over to you, Dr. Gupta.
Thank you, Santosh. I'll just share my screen. Is it visible?
Yes, it is visible.
So greetings to all the audience. Namaste from India. Today I'll be taking you through one of the part of the main study, which is exploring the impact of Mother Kitchen Recipe Talks on maternal anemia among the tribes of Andhra Pradesh. And it was a cohort study. The study was being funded by the Indian Council of Medical Research. So among the various objectives in the study, one of the objectives was to study the effectiveness of weekly local mother recipe kitchen to improve dietary iron intake and blood hemoglobins among tribal mothers of Andhra Pradesh. In this, we have recruited lactating mothers who are having children of less than 1 year of age. And they should be residing in that area where we were about to carry the study. And they should be belonging to a tribe of Andhra Pradesh. And any women who was having acute illness or who was unfit was excluded from the study. Our main study tools, we had the structured questionnaires, we were having guides, and we were having 24 hours dietary recall. We conducted mother kitchen local recipe talks using virtual diaries of cooking diaries and anthropometry and hemoglobin measurements. It was conducted in Guntur district of Andhra Pradesh in India from June to April 2021 to 2022 among lactating mothers. 340 lactating mothers were there. And in this 340 lactating mothers, they were divided over 10 clusters, with each cluster having 34 mothers. And informed written consent was recorded as per ethics. In Guntur district, Andhra Pradesh, we have 23 project sites for ICDS, that is Integrated Child Development Service. And each project sites we have divided into urban and rural catered by their Anganwadi centers. And they were enlisted. Among the sites which were having more than 50 women in any of the sites, they were being sampled. So we have selected 5 clusters from urban areas and 5 clusters from rural areas. The urban clusters were mainly Guntur, Tenali, Mangalgiri, Amartuluru, and Repalli. And the rural clusters were Bolapalli, Chiklurupeta, Amravati, Pratipadu, and Pedakakari. And the study was being approved by the All India Institute of Medical Sciences Mangalagiri Ethics Committee. This map takes you to an idea of the area where we have actually conducted this study, where we have pinpointed the clusters exactly in Andhra Pradesh Guntur district. So we have done a house-to-house survey with the help of Anganwadi workers, and we enumerated all the mothers. And once the mothers agreed, the consents were taken. And they were interviewed according to the questionnaires. After the questionnaires and interviews were over, there was an anthropometric measurement which was done using the SIG equipments. And the 24 hours dietary recalls were being done on 3 non-consecutive days. And blood sampling of hemoglobin was done using HemeQ 301. After this baseline survey, we have conducted weekly local mother kitchen recipe talks. In these talks, we have provided them with raw materials. We have asked them to cook, and we have tried to learn their cooking styles and try to intervene where we could identify the potential barriers in cooking or retaining the nutrients in the food. After this 3 months intervention, we repeated the anthropometric measurements for the mother and the 24 hours dietary recall non-consecutive and hemoglobin measurements for the mother. So this takes you to the study sites where on the baseline we are doing anthropometry and we are testing hemoglobins for the mothers. And this is the 24 hours dietary recall. We use the software for calculating iron in diet cal, which is being based on Indian Food Composition Table 2017, which is by ICMR. We have tried to customize these dietary recall using the local utensils used in the daily cooking. Based on these baseline surveys of 24 hours dietary recall, we came up with a virtual diary of iron-rich food recipes from Mother Kitchen. These recipes have been divided into vegetable-wise, cereal-based, fruit-based, and so on. So a total of 13 recipes have been come out, of which 12 recipes were the vegetarian recipes. The concept of this virtual diaries were that this has a local touch. We have not gone for a fancy cutlery. We used the utensils which were used by any common Indian women in their kitchens. And we had a bilingual material which was being designed for the women to understand. It is in English and Telugu. And the portion which we take, which they cook and which they actually consume was also reflected in this, so the mother can understand actually what they're eating and how much of that portion has how much iron. So that was a whole concept based on which these diets were being designed. So we have come up with 12 recipes in which there was green leafy vegetables. Then we used ragi, which is one of the cereals. We use pulses like green gram. In one of the recipes, something like again like a dosa types recipes. And we try to use all the local food, what they are eating daily or weekly, and we try to enrich its nutritional values so that they can practice us easily, and it is locally available. It's not costly for them, it's not time consuming for them. It is their daily food which has to be improved. So this is, we are taking you through the cooking sessions where we have given actually raw materials and the mothers are cooking of week 1, which was vegetable rice. As Dr. Rajeev sir already told that in South India, rice is a staple. So cooking rice is easy, and adding green leaves to rice takes only a minute extra or maybe a 2 minutes extra. And these leaves are available easily at low cost. Many of these leaves are available in the kitchen gardens or just as at the outskirts of the villages. So the intervention of knowledge is most important, that this can be done very quickly without disturbing their daily schedules. And it can increase the iron content of their diet a lot, and it help them improve their anemic status, not only theirs, but also their families. Because in India, we eat from the common kitchen. So, and this, I take you to the last session again, where women are cooking and they are learning how to cook and how to retain the nutrients. So this way, we have conducted a total of 345 kitchens in 10 clusters in that year. To give a rough idea how these women had the socio-demographic distribution, most of the participants were among 21 to 30 years of age and were the housewives. But when we call in India housewife, these participants are many times infrequently going to some field work or some agriculture work, which is also considered as a housewife. Then husbands of most of these women are labor, that is manual labors, they are mostly. Most of these participants, most of our mothers and their husbands were illiterate or not literate or less than primary. So we understand the importance of hand holding of these mothers, those who are young in age and those who are having no much exposure to scientific facts and all those things. So hand holding becomes important. And most of them have from lower middle socioeconomic status. So cost becomes a critical factor. Giving them diets which is not possible to be cooked will not fulfill the purpose of having control or having decrease in burden of anemia. So we have to think about cost for any intervention we are planning. So we conducted total of 345 weekly local recipe talks in the mother kitchens. So these kitchens were also from the either mothers' houses or they were from the Anganwadi centers in India. So they were actually they are the ground realities which were we were taken through. Before we give any cuisines or before we share any recipes, we have to sit and understand what is their need and what is their ground reality for cooking. So as per ICMR 2020 guidelines, the estimated average requirement for any person for iron intake is 16 milligram per day. But we found that it is 9 milligram per day, which is quite low. So either we can give them iron tablets, which is of course a well-known successful implementation to control the burden of anemia. But then how long can we give these iron tablets? So the question arises like what can be done to change their behaviors, which can be as a lifelong practices. So here was this. And then if we see the prevalence of anemia, we found in our study was 63.2 0.82%, and it was quite comparable with NFHS 5 data of Andhra Pradesh, which says 59% of non-pregnant women are anemic. So our results were quite comparable with the national data. When we compared the direct iron intake among mothers at the base surveys and at the end line, we found that there was a statistically significant increase in mean iron intake milligram per day for the women, those who have attended more than 10 kitchens or equal to 10 kitchens. But of course, they might have took IFA. Some of them might have took IFA tablets, which is iron folic acid tablets. So we have to further stratify them. And then when we have removed any women who have taken any sort of IFA, even one pill also, we have removed it from analysis. So we again found that there was a statistically significant increase of daily iron intake in the diet among these women. Coming to hemoglobin, overall, we found that the prevalence of hemoglobin or prevalence of anemia, we do not found any statistically significant results on women who are attending more than 10 kitchens or women who are not attending. We could not find, but we found a statistically significant increase in prevalence of anemia who did not attended this kitchens. So that is also a other part of the this mirror, that though our results were not significant for this intervention, but those who have not attended the interventions, they were having the more prevalence of anemia, which was statistically significant. And when we come and talk about severe anemia, then we found that the severe anemia in the starting of the study, if we take the overall mothers, it was 3.17%, which has dropped to 0.63, which was a statistically significant drop in severe anemia. And then among the mothers, those who have actually attended this mother's kitchen recipe talks, we found that it has got down to 0%, and which was again statistically significant. And with IFA also, we could find the drop in the prevalence of the burden of anemia. So this shows that this intervention is quite, this was quite having the positive results we could get with terms of mean hemoglobin, mean iron intake in diet, and prevalence of severe anemia. But as we understand that this is a 3 months intervention and hemoglobin RBC half-life is only 120 days, we could not get the exact numbers for moderate anemia or mild anemia. But yes, we were having positive results for severe anemia. Then when we were talking with these women, we audio recorded all these talks. Of course, they were not focus group discussions. As we can understand, this is a ground kitchens which was created within within the houses of these women or within the Anganwadi centers. And these women have under 5 kids, and then doing these kitchens and then running around the kids and then having some works in between. So we understand the difficulties in conducting and stabilizing. So these are not focus group discussions, but yes, we have come up with certain themes where we understand the women need hand-holding of some local recipe talks of food enrichments, which are based at their own kitchens. So I'll take you, so this is a tree diagram. If you can see, the women themselves say that we do not know how to cook healthy food. So if a woman say, I do not know how to cook a healthy food, then whatever iron folic acid tablets we supplement, after it is stopped, the burden is going to return the same. The purpose is to change the behaviors. So acceptability is again a challenge for some of the food items. For example, one of the participants, they said, we know about the nutritive values of green leafy vegetables, and we also want to cook, but we don't cook regularly because in our family, my in-laws and elders want whatever they bring, we should cook those only. So we understand that we need to not only this time mothers, but also maybe the family members can be in the future researchers are to be considered some way. So they can be also be given a substantial amount of hand holding for nutritional diets. If we see for accessibility, so most of these our recipes were available, and we got very few or minimal codes for accessibility. For some leaves like Ponanganti leaves or green gram, these were the some of the reasons with very few participants we got accessibility issues. Overall, the participants were not having accessibility issues of the recipes we have discussed. And then affordability was also not a big problem. But yes, we understand that this part of the people, for example, they don't have the mixers in their houses. So if we are telling them diets which contain something to be churned up in the mixers, it is very difficult for them to adopt. And there were some participants, those who don't have even gas for cooking. So that though there were very less participants, but the participants, those who were there, was worrisome reasons, like how we can actually take on them with the proper diets. And then appropriateness. So perceived appropriateness is a concern for some many participants. For example, one of the code was, my parents told to us if we eat green leaves in maternal period, our child will suffer with diarrhea. So we stopped to take green leaves in that time. And again, we started to take after few days. So on one hand, we are talking about the nutritionist diet, the antenatal period, where we should have more green leafy vegetable to increase the iron uptake and so on. Well, the community has some other myths because of which they're actually increasing the intake. They have actually stopped only the intake. So such things are the such myths can only be taken care of if we are actually working on them with them on the grounds and try to solve their myths. Availability is also was not a big issue for most of, and we could not get much of the codes for availability also, other than green gram. Most of the participants were having most of the things. And but there is not awareness about the nutritious food which is also present in their community. One participant has reported, in my locality I have never seen people using drumstick leaves. So drumstick leaves is very commonly available in many South Indian families in the villages. It's very commonly grown, but because they have never seen anybody using, they are also not using it with though it is very high rich content of iron. So like this, the education is again critical. And the nutritional environment is very important. If the mother goes out for the field works, or if the mother goes out for the labor work, or maybe household work, so mothers perceive that if we do anything extra, then it's time taking, and then what to do. So, like, I'll take you through one of the quotes. We don't have time to make this. Our time will be spent cooking rice and curry. So, like this, if so, there are recipes which we have to teach them. The other nutrient food we have to teach them is has to be very quick, very easy, and nutritious, highly rich in iron. Then only they can be adopted by them. And then use and utilization was the another code. For so many of them said we do not know how to prepare it. So had never seen that the rice can be further make nutritious, or an idli can be further make nutritious by adding some vegetables, or maybe a sweet can be make further nutritious by adding some dates or sesame or green gram and so on. So use and utilization was one of the concerns among this population. So this was from a brief snapshot from our research, which was actually if I go to the data, it's a big data sets. But now the query or the question which comes into our mind, is it replicable to other similar settings? Like India, or like this socioeconomic group which we have studied. So yes, the answer is yes. But before we replicate it, we have to make sure there is a system in place. Like in India, we have integrated child development service scheme, under which Anganwadis are already in place. So we are not spending, or we are not investing any funds or finance for this infrastructure on manpower. So your support for this should be there already. And then the main part of it is community engagement. It's not just a health talk that you go and give and then you come back and take a photo. Actually, you have to sit with them for maybe 2 hours, 3 hours, what they are doing, how they are doing, and then after how they are tasting it. There are so many things which go hand in hand. So community engagement, if their child is crying, you are trying to play with the child at the corner of the Anganwadi, and maybe the some other research partners are working with the mothers. So this is very important. Community engagement is very important for such an intervention. And we did it in the midst of COVID, when nobody wanted anybody to enter the houses also. There was a lot of fear among the people. So that sort of trust with your population, that sort of reliability is very important for the people to believe in you. What you are doing is for their benefit. And then resource availability is very important. Whatever the food goes to these kitchens has to be low cost. It has to be quick. It has to be low cost. If it requires microwaves, suppose, or if it requires deep freezers, I feel it will be a waste of time, because this population doesn't have any access. If I give them cookies, or if I give them something like that which they can't cook, it is and they can't buy also very often. So again, all the exercise is will not be able to give the positive results. And then cultural sensitivity is very important. So whatever they eat, whatever they cook, however they cook, and the way, the styles they practice, though right or wrong, has to be taken in a very delicate manners. They have to be taken through the journey of this nutritious diet. Sudden saying of no, you are doing wrong, no, this is right, no, I will do that, that can lead to a real disturbance in the whole activity, and which will not give you any results. So cultural sensitivity is very, very important. And of course, anywhere where it has to be adapted, or it has to apply, take the flexibility has to be there. So they can use their own local food. They can use their own local recipes. Where we have taken what in South Indian families, on our baseline data, we found these are the common recipes. But same recipes might not be valid to the other countries or to the other parts of the India. And then training and capacity building of the workers, if can be done, it's already in the system. It's only that we need some political and social climate, so that this can be easily adopted across a wider population. So this is our team, how we were involved in monitoring and supervisions. And we also was included in the nominations of PM Award on Poshan Abhiyan under Jan Bhagidari and People's Participation 2023 for the Guntur district. So this is how the whole team from ICDS and from AIIMS Mangalgiri was involved in this entire activity. So with this, I come to the end of my presentations, but without special thanks, it will be so difficult. So I'd like to thank our director, Professor Dr. Mukesh Tripathi sir, and ICDS Guntur Project Director, Srimati B. Manoranjani, and ex-assistant CDPO Mangalgiri ICDS Guntur, Srimati Nurani SK. Without them, this could not happen, because they were they were the backbones to run these activities on the base. And I also thank each and every child development project officer, Anganwadi workers, Anganwadi helpers, who have their active support and cooperation. And I also thank Mrs. Archana Gupta and Dr. Devi ma'am, Dr. Desham Chemila, Dr. Venkateswara Reddy, Dr. Navya Krishna Naidu, and Mrs. Gurdeep Kaur, those who have trained our staff and had quality check for the data. And at the end, I also congratulate my team Monica, Vasanti, and Kamla for their hard work on the fields they have done. With this, thank you. Hope you found this interesting and useful to you. Over to you, Santosh.
Thank you, Dr. Gupta. It was a great talk by all our speakers. Let's go to the questions. Dr. Antonio, I could not see any questions in Q&A or chat.
Yes, but at least I have a few questions. I don't know if I can make.
Yeah, please.
So I had one question for Dr. Rakesh Kakkar. It's and I think it was more kind of answered with the last presentation. But when you developed and worked with the patients and the families, did you co-create the interventions with them? You had a lot of materials. How did that work?
Actually, during counseling session, if you tell them the ways, because nutrition or any intervention, if we want to have it a long lasting effect, then definitely a good counseling is required at the means a local available food at their economically sound, so that will be feasible for them. And experiment we can do at for our own feasibility, what is working and what is not working, but providing them a good solution will work definitely. That will be more adaptable to them.
And I have one for Dr. Rajeev. And I think I have two for you. So when I was watching the graphs with the anemia prevalence in all the districts from India, were they in a way linked to food insecurity in those regions? So the regions that may be a little less viable in terms of food insecurity?
Food security is definitely an issue, but we have what is known as a public distribution system. I mean, that's all across the country. And then lately, in the last decade or so, it has been concentrating on the people without the purchasing parity, what we expect all across this thing. So it was being given to priority groups who actually required it. But when it comes to micronutrients, we have a problem.
Yeah.
This public distribution system cannot take care of, say, like fresh leafy green leafy vegetables. I mean, how can you provide it through a public system? On a daily basis. They have to find their own resources. That becomes micronutrient. The hidden hunger part becomes a big problem. Macronutrients definitely you can provide. Even in fact, the PDS provides even the cooking material also, and then some of the schemes which have been, like Dr. Arti was talking about, the gas is actually the cooking gas which comes in cylinders. Okay, that has been made free for the lower classes of the society and all that. So there have been multi-pronged approaches to get across this food insecurity problem, or rather to assure that the lower levels of the society is actually getting what they should be getting. But micronutrient, that's a different question altogether. Yeah.
And then the other smaller question that I had was that in one table you had something that I think it was named eating pulses.
That is very peculiar to Andhra Pradesh. Dr. Kumar will know it. Andhra Pradesh has got, I mean, of all things, I find I come from a different state actually of Kerala. In fact, that's what I was pointing at. Andhra, the legumes become staple sometimes. The main part of the food, or at least half of the plate, will be filled with legumes, and people love it. And I find it very peculiar that, probably that's one of the things which probably Dr. Gupta also is showing. Most of those recipes, you will see that, there are a lot of legumes. Back where I come from, people don't love legumes that much. In fact, there is a bit of politically colored issue of, I mean, back in my state, people eat non-vegetarian diet. and that too heme rich. Okay, I don't want to bring it up. Okay, but then in Andhra, I found, legumes are much more popular and it's easily teachable. You just have to tell them, okay, this is, scientifically found to be helping, in terms of micronutrients and all that. Yeah, I missed that particular line when I was showing it off. Yeah. Thanks to you for pointing it out. Thanks.
But I don't know. I don't want to make all the questions. I don't know, Dr. Santosh or Sonia, do you have any questions?
Yes, I have.
And we are almost getting to the time.
Yes, I have some questions for the three of us, if you don't mind. My first question is for Dr. Rakesh. My question is related with the fact that I work on gender differences, and so I have a curiosity. Why is it happens the differences between men and women regarding the percentages of anemia? Why it happens? What are the factors that are behind the difference between men and women?
I think it is prevalent in many parts of the country, and this gender inequality is there, and especially for the food and for health-seeking behavior, it is very much there. Female, usually they have a habit of giving it first to the males, to the men. That's why that is also reflected in the graphs, like anemia is much lower in males comparative to females. And this actually, it is more required to female because in the childbearing age, it pass on. So care of continuum is actually required for them, and which is reflected after, means in first 5 years of age, which we have seen in the graph. And they continue breastfeeding even up to 18 months. If they are not giving cereals to them, especially if it is a female child, then the things worsen further. So this cycle goes on, and in adolescence, in pregnancy, lactating women. So things are there, but many schemes are being run by the government. But I think the workers need to be make more aware so that they can, grassroots level worker can bring the change. So more awareness, more education to the female is required.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rakesh. I have a question also for Dr. Rajeev, if you don't mind. What happens well, I saw in your presentation the Necator Americanos. Oh, what is it? And the the implications or on your results. What happened with that? Sorry about my curiosity, but I saw it and I really want to know more about it.
Thanks for asking me. That tiny little worms, they're called hookworms,
Okay.
which used to be highly prevalent in the country. 15 years back, our medical students used to go to field and then collect the stool salmon and look at it. You used to see the ova of the worms. It was so common. And then again, I'm not talking about the later years and all that. Probably it is not relevant anymore because the periodic deworming activity has been taken along with this Anemia Free Bharat, Anemia Free India campaign. Every 6 months, all the children will get tablets of albendazole, or some combination thereof. So the worm issue hopefully has come down. That was not part of our study or any of these analysis. But then infections, taking apart the parasites, the worms apart, the infections are also pretty common. Relating to your question on women, they do not approach. The health-seeking behavior is rather on the lower side. So there are reproductive tract infections, which actually, if you don't, use these oral contraceptive pills, which I was talking about, the normal menstruation will be much more severe because of, coexisting infections also, so it's multi, I don't know, I mean, there are multiple reasons for anemia occurring doubly as much as what is happening in men, but that also brings to the point, men also have, not so insignificant levels of anemia. So it's time that, iron came to the, dining table on a routine basis. The Anemia Bharat talks about, weekly iron folic acid supplementation. For example, you give one tablet of iron folate to the school children. The teachers showing the example first, of eating it, and then showing the kids, how to swallow it once in a day. And then even if you fortify the regular diet and all that with the minimal amounts of iron, which Dr. Arti was telling about, 16 milligram, and it doesn't work that well. So the iron has to become part of the daily diet, in some or other way. So the communication which we should be giving out, the Anemia Bharat, incidentally, is more of an action program rather than just education. We are giving the tablets and we're showing, we're demonstrating. So it has to become a dining table habit, so that even the 30% anemia in adolescent boys, we have to take care of it. It is a huge task ahead.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Rajeev. And I also have a question for Dr. Arti Gupta. Cultural settings are very difficult to change. And having this into account, do you have any kind of recommendations to change things, having it to account the community, the relation between science and the community, the results in science, presenting the results of science into the community? It might help you to show them the science evidences that they can change their cultural settings. Do you think it might help to do this, to spread the word?
Thank you. Thank you. It's a very nice question. Actually, the results of science, as I told, that most of them are not literate or are less than primary, that is less than fifth grade of education.
Yeah.
But yes, if not exactly, we talk about p-values and that statistics, we can show them at least the change in their hemoglobin, which is the easiest possible.
Yeah.
So when these women were cooking, when we have taught them each week our team was going and we were doing these kitchens. But actually, when they were cooking without us, they used to send us photos. And then we had the best, who has the best hemoglobin improvements. We had some sorts of competitions, and the persons, those who share with us the maximum photos, which was not a part of a research, but to keep them engaged, to keep them occupied. And we were very happy that they were very positive, and they were not thinking that how is my kitchen looking like, I'm poor or like this. There were no thoughts, and they were very actively participating. So yes, I think but other than women, which is one part of it, the results are very, very important for policymakers, for the program makers. So we have already shared our results with the prime body, which is ICDS Guntur, and we have also presented it on national forums. So what we are now trying to do is we are trying to run big RCTs for the same concept. So we can, and we are expecting our result in next January 2024. Our RCT is going to end, so that we can bring up it for maybe a regional recommendation or a national recommendation to explore its usefulness along with all the interventions which are already in place. Will there will be an additional effect, or will there will be, I should say, effect modifier for anemia comes up if this intervention is adopted?
Thank you so much.
I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, very well. Thank you so much, Arti Gupta.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, all the speakers. Thank you, Antonio. Thank you, Sonia. It was a wonderful session by all our dear speakers, and I'm sure our audience have enjoyed a lot. This session would have not been possible without the diligent efforts of Dr. Antonio and Dr. Sonia, and the team for Socio-Economic Inequalities SIG and total ISBNPA team. Above everything, we thank each and every participant without whom this session would not have been this much fruitful. Happy learning. Bye-bye. We will end the session. Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.